Hello guys! A month ago, one of my students, actually two of my students, one of them asked me to teach his son, and his son is around eight years old. And I thought, okay, and he goes to a private school, so his English is good. I thought that's no problem. We were doing activities because I usually do activities with uh, many of my students, most especially kids. So this was easy for me. I said, well, we shall do activities. We shall do reading activities, music, and watching animation. So I thought, okay, I haven't taught this age before, but I can find materials for him. That was okay. We began classes and they were going well. I'm still learning more and planning more for his classes, but generally the classes are going well. And then another student, one of my other students, asked to start doing classes with his daughter. And then I quickly remembered seeing his daughter on his stories, and sometimes during classes, she comes to the classes and I had seen her before. She's very little. So I quickly asked, how old is she? And he said, she's 6. And I thought to myself, well, 6, well, we're not gonna do grammar, of course, but we can do reading, we can do maybe music, we can watch movies like those animation films with the kids, no problem. Until his mom said, her mom said, no, you can't do reading because she hasn't started reading yet. So I panicked, like, if we don't do reading in class, if we don't do watching animation in class, if we don't do any of these activities, what can we do? Grammar is off the table. What can we do then? It means most of the class activities have been removed from the class. No grammar, okay, no reading, no not music, no animation. What's left? What can we do? So I panicked for a moment, and I was like, I talked to my mom and my dad, and they said that's an opportunity for growth. So I was like, yeah, actually, it's an opportunity for me to learn more about this. So I started researching on the internet for how to teach. And I found a book that's very amazing. The book is Cambridge Guide to Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. So I was like, okay, I'm going to download this. I downloaded the book. The book is over 300 pages all. I said, no, I don't think I'm going to read all the 300 pages. I was about to delete the book, but then I said, let me just look at the table of contents. So I looked at the contents, and there was one thing that was very amazing. It was teaching language learning strategies. I started reading the chapter and I found amazing things. So in these videos, it's going to be a series. I'm going to share with you some of the things I have learned from the book. And most of these things I've done them before in classes, but I simply did them because I thought they were entertaining and engaging for the students. But after reading this book, it helped me to organize and change my teaching strategies, not only for the kids, but for the adults too. Because like in some of the videos, maybe you will see, or you have seen in this series, I mentioned that many times I used to find a good grammar book and follow the book for all the classes. And of course we had speaking classes, but I was so focused on following the book, which wasn't a very good thing. And after reading this book, it helped me to switch up some of the activities that I do in class with all the other students, adults, kids, and teenagers. So I made some notes here, and we've made something like how many strategies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are around 6 strategies, but I will focus on 3 main strategies. The first one is for beginners, the other strategy is for intermediate, and the other one is for advanced. But these strategies are not only to be applied or used by teachers. If you're a language learner, you can also do most of the things by yourself. The only difference is if you do it with a teacher, it will be a lot more faster. So, but you can follow along and just do this by yourself at home. And before we dig into this, I divided them into 3 sections. And I'm going to begin with introducing a strategy or a method, and then I tell you who it's suitable for and what are the benefits or how can it be done, and I'll tell you how I usually do it in my classes. So the first thing that we are going to discuss is the cognitive teaching method or strategy. Cognitive teaching strategy, this is suitable for intermediate. I'll begin with intermediate because if you're watching this video and you're a student, it's very clear you will be either intermediate or advanced. So I will begin with intermediate because this is the one that I've tried many times and I liked the most. So cognitive teaching strategy, this involves lots of reading. There is another video I made, I will link it in the description. It shows how you can do other activities. You should check it out. So there is the cognitive teaching method. In this method, there is lots of reading, lots of listening, but in the reading sections, for example, if you're reading a blog, you don't use the Turing or Google Translate to find out the meanings of words. You read and you try to guess from context. And this is a very good thing because many times students focus on understanding every word per word. But if you're in the intermediate level, you don't need to understand every word per word. For example, in Turkish, I don't try to understand every word. I just get the main meaning. And I realized many of my students, usually they try to understand every single word said maybe in a video or when they go for job interviews, something like that. This isn't good. So in my classes, I decided to, for example, if I'm doing a class with a student, maybe we find one of the activities that they do in their free time and we choose a blog, we get a blog, we write into Google and find a blog, sit, maybe read, but I usually I get my phone and tell them you have 1 minute to understand what's in this paragraph. So they sit in 1 minute, look at the paragraph and quickly get the main idea. What's the main idea? Not understanding every word, not translating the whole paragraph. So in 1 minute, for example, this is the paragraph. We circle the paragraph and say, in 1 minute, read silently and tell me what you understood from the paragraph. If the student is maybe a little bit of below intermediate, you could ask the student to explain it in Turkish. The important thing with this activity is understanding, not translating all the words from the paragraph, but understanding what the paragraph is about. So that's how we do it. But if the student is a little bit at a higher level, they could read the paragraph and talk about it and tell you their idea. For example, one of the students she wants to travel to the US. We found a blog that was talking about things not to do in US. So we read about the blog and it was talking about don't smoke in the US, something like that. there are places that fine you and stuff like that. So she had to read, understand, and then add her own ideas. For example, compare the two from, for example, in the US, what are the rules? And then what about in Turkey? So the student could read and then try to compare. If you're a student and you would love to do this, find a blog, quickly read without using any translator. Don't try to find the meanings of words. Read and then record yourself talking about this particular topic. So you sit and say, the blog talks about this, but I think this, I also think, in my opinion, as far as I know. So you can add your opinions and everything. So this is one way to do the cognitive strategy. The other thing, apart from guessing from context, the other thing is analyzing. We've talked about analyzing. You sit and analyze what the whole blog is about, all the whole text is about, all article, and then taking systematic notes. So if you read something, take notes and be sure what is it talking about. So just take notes using your own words. The other thing is reorganizing information. For example, if you're going to do the IELTS, for example, you could read a blog or read an essay and sit down and rewrite it without looking at what you've read. You read, take in all the information and sit and read. So this is good for vocabulary development and also practicing grammar. And for the intermediate level, in most cases, if we only focus on grammar, it means you know all the rules, but you can't understand everything that is said. And the other thing I liked about this strategy is sometimes in blogs, people use numbers, people use phrasal verbs, people use different structures of language. If the teacher only focuses on the grammar, or when I was only focusing on the grammar, it means when students go out, if they are still learning simple present, present continuous, present perfect, they will not have a chance to see all these tenses used in one paragraph. And when they go out, if those tenses are mixed up, their understanding will be a lot slower. But when we were reading a blog, for example, there were things like, don't do this. I told them, see, because in class we hadn't yet learned this. I said, so you see, if you want to communicate, for example, you have a kid, you can say, don't eat that, don't do this. So they can quickly grab those words or phrases they can use outside instead of focusing on the book. So this is one thing I liked about it. I've done the blog reading before with some of the students, even when I was teaching in schools, but I sometimes forget this and we just focused on the book. So that was all about the cognitive teaching method or learning method. If you have any experiences with different strategies for intermediate, please share with me. I would love to know. I would love to see what else other teachers are doing or other students are doing. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.